like they're pretty far off of that. They still have a reanimation with the support of Carfell. Sublime Epiphany Intrigue. Oh my god! Hello YouTube, MTGA Day, and today we are going to have a look at Tasha, Unholy Archmage in Historic Brawl. This is the game to win by controlling the board with, you know, the tools that blue back control has, and then trying to win off of your various value engines. So, Tasha, Unholy Archmage is a 4-mana planeswalker that comes down with 4 loyalty, +1 until your next turn whenever a creature attacks you or Tasha, Unholy Archmage, notably not other planeswalkers you control, put a -1/-1 counter on that creature. So that is pretty annoying and really keeps like the fast aggro decks at bay with that +1 ability. -2, the opponent chooses a creature card in their graveyard, and we return that card to our side of the battlefield with Ward 2. And -6, the opponent reveals cards from the top of the library until they reveal 3 creature cards. We put those into the battlefield, and then we mill the rest. Notably, if the opponent only has 2 or less creatures in their deck, we just mill their entire library and basically win on the spot. So, this is, you know, just your typical Dimir control list. There is nothing really too fancy here. The Tasha specific cards that are in this deck are things like Tezzeret's Gambit, where it's draw 2 cards, proliferate. Similar to this as the Contentious Plan, draw a card, proliferate, and Karn's Bastion with tap, proliferate. So those cards are really good in Tasha, because what ends up happening is you play Tasha, you're +1, now you're at 5 loyalty, and then on turn 5 you can, for example, play Karn's Bastion. You have exactly enough mana to activate it, proliferate Tasha, and then just -6 immediately the next turn. And like, it is pretty strong, right? So Tasha is a card that has one flaw, and that flaw is actually pretty relevant, and that is she doesn't generate value on her own unless you ultimate her. Like really, well, the -2, let's say we're playing against blue-white control, right? The +1 does nothing, the -2 does nothing, right? This is just literally an ultimate machine. Like, she's just there to ult, and that is sometimes just not good enough in certain matchups, but she is still very strong because the matchmaking favors her right now. Yeah, she really is one of those commanders that is like, yes, she has a bunch of bad matchups, but she doesn't get matched up against those bad matchups, and that's why you have ridiculous win rates on her. I think I'm like 21-0 right now with this deck. I mean, that's not too big of a sample size, really, but it really shows that people are really not prepared for this commander right now, even though I think the commander is just not that insane. Let's at least as insane as the win rates might suggest. So, you know, talking about the deck again, bunch of 1-mana discard spells, you know. The 2-mana mana rocks are in this pretty great in this deck, because we can play those on turn 2, turn 3 Tasha, turn 4 ultimate if we have a proliferation, and that is just pretty nasty. We have a bunch of draw, we have a bunch of planeswalkers like Ashiok, Professor Onyx, Dreadhorde, Liliana Dreadhorde General, and then like things like Hullbreaker to you know, close out the game. The Thought Distortion in this deck is specifically against the bad matchups of like blue X control with a bunch of counter magic, because if you get to resolve a Thought Distortion in these matchups, the game basically ends on the spot. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about this deck. There are really no surprises in here. Notably, we played only 2 creatures, and that is a Murderous Rider and a Hullbreaker Horror. So in the Tasha mirror, we will always die to the opponent's ultimate. Anyways, so yeah, that being said, deck's still pretty good. Hope you enjoy the gameplay, and let's do this. We are ready to play against Garuda, Doom of Depths, and Tasha's +1 doesn't do too much in this matchup, but the -2 and -6 should be pretty good. I think this is a fine hand. The negate here specifically is pretty good. Oh yes, even a Tail's End, yeah, beautiful. The negate here is pretty good because Garuda usually just has so many big things in the deck that doesn't really matter which big thing you counter. It's more of you want to like stop them from getting the mana in the first place. So we're going to counter any mana rock here. The question is, do we use a negate? Yeah, I think we want to... If we negate this, we can spell pierce later, but we negate. Because that gives us the option of, like, we always get got by a second counter spell here. Like, if they have a spell pierce, they spell pierce us back. Right, mystical, but yeah, that would have also happened with the spell pierce. But now they know about the spell pierce, which makes the card much worse. The reason why we didn't use the spell pierce there is because it gave us the option of... Oh, they actually took the spell pierce, nice. It gave us the option of going turn 5 Tasha with spell pierce up. Yeah, midnight clock, exactly, that's what I thought. Okay. We can just Tasha and hope that, you know, nothing bad happens to us. Yeah, let's do that, I guess. We start ticking up because Garuda, I play 31 creatures in Garuda, and that is about a 30, still a like 30% chance to whiff on the Garuda trigger, and 30 is a ton. It is an absolute metric ton of creatures. Like, you don't know how many creatures you have, like how many creatures 30 is until you have actually played it. So we now just ult Tasha, and since this is a Garuda deck, we should get some really sweet things from this. And there are the pretty sweet things, and we take a midnight clock with this hostage taker, beautiful. And we can't exactly play that right now. So maybe... Question is, do we keep up Tail's End or not? I think we don't need to keep up Tail's End. Also, those hits were pretty bad, honestly, for a Garuda deck. Those hits were pretty bad. Oh, it'd kill. Yep. They get back the midnight clock. There was nothing I could have done about that. Return. Yep. Sure, they reanimate. And now this is a really cool play because... Yeah, they should take one of their creatures, they blink it with Thassa, and now they get their creatures back. Because what happens is, they originally own those creatures, right? And this is, this returns it to the owner, right? So now they get this back, now they target their wonder, and that is just very cool in my opinion. Okay, since they did that play, I think we want to... Yeah, we just want to Languish. Should have attacked first though. And now that gives us the Arcane Signet back. And now we are able to Tail's End the Garuda. So that is pretty good. Yeah, we're just going to Infernal Grasp that. Ah yes, the sound is starting to fade away. Just a very common bug right now. Nothing I can do about that. Apart from literally restarting every single time it happens. So we could minus. So if they have a non-creature here in hand, we can Mind Spike minus Thassa. But I think we just want to plus Ashiok because we basically got all of our options covered here with the single Tail's End. So that is pretty great, and we can start bouncing things with Ashiok next turn. Because they're probably not going to get something into play here. Yeah, we gotta counter that. With a good old Tail's End. So now... Yeah, now we just... How much just... Yeah. We start on a Mind Spike here. Yep, that takes a Crux of Fate. Now we can minus... We could just be fancy and take the Midnight Clock, but if they draw the land, that's really, really bad for us. But this way that we get rid of the Tasha. And we got rid of the Tasha, play the Tasha. And we go for the ultimate here because, again, they get the choice what they bring back and they have some really, you know, crappy options there. So they play their commander. Hopefully it's not too bad. That qualifies as probably really bad. Oh. Well, crap. And if they have a land, they can replay Garuda next turn because they can sacrifice it to Phyrexian Tower, get 1 additional mana, play the land, play the Garuda again. Oh god. How good is this? Seems pretty good. We can actually... So we can basically sacrifice the Scythe of the Eye Tyrant to exile... This can't be blocked this turn, so that's pretty annoying. But like we could activate Hive of the Eye Tyrant to get rid of Wonder, and now their creatures don't have flying anymore. But it might just be in my best interest to trade this Ashiok for a Lockmere Serpent, because that's just always going to die, really. And now we're in a spot... Oh, they did it this way. Sure. I think it would have been more scary for us if we just... If they played the land, just keep hitting land drops instead of playing big things. So, Tasha goes down to 1, and it's kind of fine. And we get to play a Hullbreaker Horror here. And Hullbreaker is just really one of those cards that is great in Garuda because they just take one whole turn to just play a single card, really. Are they working towards activating Midnight Clock? I assume so. And we can bounce that with the Hullbreaker if we get to cast something. Ugh. I think we just want to... What if a creature enchantment? I think it is best to just activate this cast and take 1 additional damage just to see what options we have. Yeah, now we really didn't want to cast Otawara, right? So we just swing in, I assume. Yeah, it's not like we can block it or anything. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Now we'll just return the Lockmere Serpent to hand. Beautiful. And they can just activate Midnight Clock here, but that actually doesn't do too much for them because they take their whole turn to activate the clock, right? And they basically just, you know, like they can only play 1 threat a turn anyways. So it's not like it's that threatening. Not getting a like playable card here was a bit annoying, but now we can just, you know, at the very least play Tasha, bounce the Midnight Clock, and that is very, very good for us. Blood in the Snow. What do they return with that? How much snow did they pay? Oh, we get an answer for that. Oh, we really don't. Let's see. Opt. Oh, Essence Scatter. Wait, how much mana do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think just the Essence Scatter is so good here, isn't it? Oh, it's probably just too good not to have. And they reshuffle their graveyard anyways, so no point in like using Hive of the Eye Tyrant, so to exile something from the graveyard. Just make a land drop and pass turn. They should float this 1 mana here in response. They didn't. So they refuel their hand, which is pretty scary. But again, their creatures are all so expensive that they basically have to, you know, time work. Yeah, they just go for mana. And they just have to take a whole turn off just to play 1 creature. Is that fine? We play Tasha plus. Is that fine? I think that's fine. It's also not very threatening to the Tasha. If we we could have countered this minus the Tasha, and then we have the address. That would have been pretty scary. So let's just plus this. And I assume they just go for a Garuda. If they go for the Garuda, we Essence Scatter. The counter back, we're pretty sad. So Tasha goes down to 3, which is kind of fine. It really came down to us not really hitting anything off of this minus. I think we gotta counter that. That's just so scary. They just draw an additional card each turn and just burn us for a ton, as long as that's on the battlefield. Yeah, that we really can't let that happen. And we can just get the Twilight Prophet ourselves with the Tasha. That might just be worth it. But then the Tasha dies if they attack with both creatures here. They have 2 mana up from this Phyrexian Tower. Maybe they just wanna... Yeah, they wanna... Phyrexian Tower, sacrifice Solemn, draw a card. Yeah, pretty good. I think we want to keep that Bloodshifts Thirst, right? Now we can't minus really. Well, we can attack with Hive. Exiled Solemn. How much mana do we have after that? Yeah, we can actually activate Castle Lochthwain as well. So swing in. We want to exile the Solemn because we want to get the Twilight Prophet. And so please give us the Twilight Prophet, thank you very much. And maybe not last turn, maybe. At least we represent more stuff that way. So our Tasha dies because the address does have menace, and that is a pretty annoying property right now. Put it to command zone. I assume they just, you know, slam Garuda here, but maybe they don't because we haven't activated Lochthwain. They're like scared of what we can do. If they cast Garuda, we will just, in response, actually, yeah, Bloodchief's Thirst is gone. We will just cast Lochthwain and hope to get a counterspell off the top. Blood on the Snow, destroy all creatures. Ah, damn it. And they get back a Twilight Prophet with it? That's so disgusting. Because they spent 4 snow on it. Oh god. Do we have win conditions left, really? Oh, that's a card. Do we have a Time Warp left in our deck? Oh wow. Okay. I think we just have to Murderous Rider. And then, while they're tapped out, maybe just go full in on this Blue Suns, hope to get a board wipe to deal with the Garuda or whatever they're doing there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make a land drop, because we haven't made a land drop yet. Maybe do it for 4, hit a land drop and a counter spell. I think it's probably just for 5 right now, so we don't get got by counter magic. Oh yeah, that is pretty solid here, because we get to see what's in their hand. Massacre Worm is not too relevant, and we picked up a board wipe. Yeah, beautiful. And we're really grinding this one out here. They get to steal our Arcane Signet with a hostage taker. No, pretty unfortunate. I should play that immediately. Yeah, so they permanently get that back. And if we get an untapped land off the Seagate with 4 draws, we get to Crux of Fate. Yeah, that's probably worth it. Like, if I don't get a land here, I'm actually just dead. That's so funny. Oh god. Dark Ritual. Should have Thoughtseize first, because if they counter that, I'm dead. But now, Thoughtseize. Oh wow. Yeah, we just get to Hero's Downfall that in response. I think it's fine if we I think that's just fine. Did a card leave this turn? Yeah, no, didn't. Okay. So, the scary part here is that they are going to Garuda, again, obviously. But we still have our board wipe. We dealt with the situation. They can probably, like, depending on how they draw in the future, they will just be able to, like, play 4 more Garudas that we have to deal with eventually. But honestly, this board is as good as any to Crux of Fate here. And I think our win condition is just overpower them on the board with the Shark Typhoon. So go destroy all non-dragons. They're going to respond by drawing with the Bonder's Enclave, sure. And we just jab a Shark Typhoon. And then that is our win condition. Oh, that's very scary, depending on how many cards they reveal from that. Real boss, reanimation spell. There's something scary that they can reanimate. Hostage Shaker can't take enchantments, and so does Gelatinous Cube. I think we're... Oh god. This is so scary. So scary. Reanimate an Exquisitions Expert. That doesn't do too much here, actually. Atris is probably the finest thing here. The thing is, they always take the Dream Eater, right? Literally always. Because if I reveal that to them, they just bounce the Shark Typhoon, right? And that is just game. So I can't reveal the Dream Eater, and if I do like anything like that, they always take the 2 cards here, so I have to make this pile as appealing as possible. Oh yes. Oh, beautiful. Okay. I mean, they probably don't have land drops in their hand, like those 2 random cards are not land drops, likely. So Erebos is online. So that is 1, 2... How much devotion? 5. Exactly 5. Okay. Oh, that's so big. Oh, that is such a huge draw, actually. Because we get to make a 6-drop. We minus them. They have to sacrifice their Demon Lord Belzenlock. And the devotion is turned off as well. Oh god, this is amazing. And I think... So we can Tezzeret's Gambit right now at sorcery speed, or we could like Murderous Rider. We can do both actually if we pay the 2 life, but I really don't want to pay the 2 life in this spot. So maybe, yeah, just... I think the 2 life is too important here. We... Professor Onyx, drain them. Honestly, no. Maybe it was better to pay the 2 because the Professor Onyx does drain them after all. It's too late now. And we can drain them once more with a Fatal Push. Putting them to 2. Yeah, this is just absolute insanity. They really can't use their Erebos in this case because, you know, paying 2 life just kills them with a Fatal Push here. This Hall of the Storm Giants is also a big threat. Yeah, this is exactly what I thought. So we let that trigger resolve, and after that there is a second trigger to bounce. But after they bounce something, we can Fatal Push the Atris actually. And that is just amazing. And even if they counter the Fatal Push, we still have a second creature. That we get. If they bounce a Shark Typhoon, we don't get a Shark. If we Fatal Push. But then we still have those 2 Sharks in play, right? So either way, like, they need to have something else here to deal with this situation. Yeah, Shark Typhoon is a good one. Can't respond to that because Revolt is not yet online for Fatal Push. And now Revolt is online for Fatal Push, and we can just push the Atris. So that is pretty amazing. Maybe we're just supposed to, like, not do something here. Maybe we just double block with the Sharks. It has to be correct to just push this, right? Drain them for 2. Triggers on the stack. That's pretty scary. And then we double block. If something else that maybe we should have double blocked first and then push. Actually, yeah, that might have been better. Oh, they can gain life of this Altar of the Pantheon. Yeah, they can actually gain life from this. Shouldn't matter too much for next turn, because Memory Deluge and plus on Onyx still gives us like yeah, still gives us enough like instants to just kill them. Instant sorceries. So let's see. This is a very intense game. I assume they just concede to that because they can't. How much mana do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they're missing like 1 mana. No, 3 mana to actually cast Garuda. So like they're pretty far off of that. They still have a reanimation with the support of Carfell. Sublime Epiphany Intrigue. Oh my god! They copy the Dream Eater, stifle the Magecraft. Oh my god! This was the best Sublime Epiphany I've ever seen. Wow, absolute insanity. Wait, they bounced the Onyx. Is that just not correct? Like we can't attack with a Shark? That pressures them into... Oh my god! Oh my god! And the 1 life of the Elder of the Pantheon just might let them be in the game. Yeah, with this thirst for discovery though, I don't think they have that. So if they had a Pact of Negation, good beats, but Onyx plus... Oh god, don't whiff on me, game. If we survive this for some reason... Oh god. Oh god. Yeah, we don't have it. Wow. We attack. What do we want to exile in case they have a reanimation spell? The Bellsnock doesn't do it. The Azcanta Worm. Maybe the Atris. Yeah. And they have to block this, but yeah, we take the original. do we take the original? Oh, maybe it was just worse to take the original here. Oh my god, it's like, oh no, we can't deal the 1 damage now, really. Well, we have the Hall of the Storm Giants, but we're just dead. Oh my god, this was, could we have played around that? Oh my god, that was so incredibly brutal, and we didn't find it with the Professor Onyx. That we had so many looks at oh, we had an additional look with the Castle Lochthwain, right? Yeah, we messed it up slightly, but like we dug 5 additional cards deep. No, this does 3, yeah, 6 cards deep, no sorcery inside. That was so brutal. What an amazing game. Yeah, I think we can scoop it up now. Insane. This was my first loss with the deck. Yeah, great start. We are ready to play against Azusa, Lost but Seeking. And if we had 1 more black, then this would have been a keep, but not like this. Yeah, sure, we keep it. So generally against Azusa, unless you counter Azusa like multiple times, it's just not worth to remove her in her, like, in the decks she is the commander in, because like Azusa just runs out the hand extremely blazingly fast, and then she just hopes to get card draw, right? And the card draw, that is what you want to prevent the opposing Azusa player from having, because they just have all the mana in the world, right? And you know what's good if you have mana? Card draw. Discover the formula. Do we want to work towards that? I think, yeah, we do. We have a bunch of land drops to make. So now, Hive of the High Tyrant. Oh yeah, so these new gates are... They're pretty interesting. I think you'd really... Sure. So, anyways, about the gates, let me finish. I think they're pretty interesting in the way that, you know, in a deck like this, where you can afford to have the tap land, and you want additional value, like, we don't really play that many card advantage engines in this deck, so we really want the additional value. So, these things have performed. I kind of like them. One thing I would recommend, though, if you play these, just play like 1 additional land just to have more untapped lands, right? At certain points, you kind of treat your lands like spells because you want to have the high quantity of untapped lands. Anyways, GG, I guess. We are ready to play against Jetmir. And Jetmir is kind of, you know... no blue. We can just have better hands than that. It's basically the same hand, but better. Yay. Yeah, Jetmir is one of those matchups, you know, where you sit there as a Tasha player and you're like, So, here's the thing. Jetmir plays a bunch of 1/1 tokens, buff and then buffs the board with the commander. Tasha makes it so all creatures get a -1/-1 counter before they connect, so their creatures usually die. The way the Jetmir player wins the matchup is, you know, Jetmir is still a very sizable creature that can attack into the Tasha. And then the cards you really want to keep off the board are the Anthem effects that give additional toughness to their creatures, because that allows the opponent to attack in 1 time with their board, right? Because then it goes down to 1 toughness. And that just usually kills you if a Jetmir is on the board, right? So the #1 priority here to keep off the board is Anthem effects that buff the toughness of their creatures, and then the #2 is going to be Jetmir himself. We got the Jetmir covered with the Washaway, so I'm not too worried here. Mind Spike, yeah, not something we were interested in this matchup. Well, kind of, right? Anthem effects are usually, you know, non-creatures in their deck, but I think we just got better solution to that, especially now with the Hullbreaker. Okay. Oh, do we want to Nah, we don't need to Dark Ritual. If we had like a 2-mana counterspell, like a negate, yes, absolutely. Give me Dark Ritual, then keep up 2 mana. Absolutely beautiful, mortals. But not like this. Cabaret Rebels. Oh, that's one of those engines that I talked about earlier, but shouldn't actually be too bad for us. We need to play this blue source here, so we can actually cast Wash Away or Gravenlore, or what is the most likely thing, if nothing too threatening happens, Dark Ritual Hullbreaker Horror, and then just start returning Cabaret Rebels. Yeah, that is not too threatening. Yeah, this is on cast, which makes it pretty scary. But like, you see how like they're just absolutely popping off with this, but at the same time now just, you know, a good old Dark Ritual Hullbreaker Horror, that should seal the deal. I don't think there's something that they can do about that, because now we just pass the turn, and we have instant speed interaction up, and that is just extremely threatening here. Just need to be patient. The way we lose this here is just not being patient, and then just getting hit by something random. Yeah, that's a Toski. That is totally fine. The reason why the Toski is actually totally fine here is because they can't attack, like, they don't have power, right? It needs to deal combat damage. And that was the, like, now they have a Swords to Plowshares or a Lightning Bolt, right? If they had a Swords to Plowshares for the Hullbreaker, now we would have cast the Gravenlore. The Lightning Bolt is just fine. The Tasha -6 is not a win condition here. It is actually just, you know, keeping the opponent at bay with a +1. And now we get to Gravenlore and Cabaret Rebels. Maybe it's even correct to play around Swords to Plowshares, because if we Gravenlore, they just Swords to Plowshares our Hullbreaker Horror in response. Oh, this is so difficult, but I think we're gonna do this. We return Cabaret Rebels to their hand. Oh no, maybe the Song of Freyalise actually. That just buffs their team by so much next turn. If they Swords us in response, we only have one option to bounce. Which one would we rather bounce? I think the Song of Freyalise is just so scary with the Toski in play. If they have the Swords, good stuff by the opponent, they earned it. They just have so much more mana. Oh, Heroic Intervention. Yeah, that's fine. They should have let the Esper Sentinel resolve first. That is just a 1-mana spell to trigger Hullbreaker. Maybe that's exactly what I want. I don't think we have the mana for a counterspell. Like literally the blue sources. Maybe we're just supposed to keep Dread Fugue. Okay. And now go into their turn. I think we want to make our land drop, especially if it's a blue one, even if it's tapped, right? Start by plussing. That's just good. Let's start by Dread Fugue, see what they have in hand. I'm not going to kick this because we're way more likely to hit something off of that. And oh yeah, we can just return Song of Freyalise in response. So yeah. We don't want to let them draw. Dread Fugue hits. Sure. Now we get to discard that. And we can Bloodchief's Thirst something. Bounce the Cabaret Rebels. So let's Bloodchief's the Esper Sentinel. Bounce Cabaret Rebels. Keep up Wash Away. And that is pretty good. Because again, the Toski is not threatening at all right now because, you know, the plus. Yeah, and they just pack it up. GG. We are done with the games. I hope you enjoyed them as much as I did. And Tasha Unholy Archmage is definitely a deck that performs. Again, we actually got my first loss with this deck. right on video, and holy moly, that was a game. You should check it out if you just skip to the end. Game 1, absolute insanity. Anyways, so Tasha performs quite well, really well, too well, because this deck is basically performing way over my expectations. But I don't think my expectations are off. I think it's just a fact of this deck really matches, like this is basically gaming one of the decks that really games the queue system on in Arena with Historic Brawl, where they have like a tiered queue and certain commanders see other commanders more likely and are less likely to be. It's a mess, but anyways, Tasha doesn't really match up against the bad matchups. And also the bad matchups are not really popular decks, really. So you're going to get a lot of free wins. People also just hate this card, so you're going to get a lot of scoops as well. And it is a pretty fun commander, honestly. Is it broken? No, I don't think so. Will it get nerfed? For the reasons, like, is it too broken in Historic Brawl? No, I don't think they should nerf it from a Historic Brawl standpoint. Can't say anything about Alchemy if it's too broken there. I couldn't tell you because I don't play Alchemy. Anyways, if you want to play this deck on a budget, what can you cut? What do you need? And it's it's a control shell. It's a blue X control shell, and there is really nothing surprising at all whatsoever in here, right? Like literally no surprises. Well, okay, well maybe a Tezzeret's Gambit is pretty good, but so what you're looking at here is you just from the land base, you're a 2-color deck, you're a slow 2-color deck, so you don't need too much fixing, but some lands really are pretty good for value. Honestly, like even though some of these lands are really good, like Karn's Bastion is pretty niche, I don't think you could, like you want to craft a Karn's Bastion. Yes, it is really good in the deck, but like if you have the choice of a Karn's Bastion and a Watery Grave, right, or a Karn's Bastion, like basically literally any other land here, you're going to use those other lands in way more decks. So I would recommend you to craft the other ones if you want to spend some wildcard on those. Get your Watery Graves, get your Shock lands, guys, get your slow lands, just good old staples. But like, I would recommend you to I would recommend you guys to craft them because they're staples, not necessarily because they're that important to this deck. The interaction, I know it's pretty important to have a cheap interaction, right? Swansong, usually a card that you don't see in Planeswalker control decks because the 2/2 will beat down on your Planeswalker, and that is pretty annoying. But Tasha solves that problem on her own by upticking, so that's why Swansong is a pretty good card here, specifically. Just, good counter magic, and you basically want to craft things that you don't own yet. Well, okay, that makes sense, right? But there are a bunch of 4-mana board wipes, right? And I don't even think you need all of them. Like, you could definitely cut one. You don't need too many of them because of, Tasha. And the important board wipes here are the ones that Tasha, like, that wipe or deal with a board state that Tasha doesn't deal with. So Crux of Fate and Blood in the Snow, you want those. But there are so many 4-mana board wipes in black. Just use the ones you have. If you don't have any other ones, I would recommend you to craft like either Languish or Yahenni's Expertise. But you have a bunch of options in your you have a bunch of deck building choices that you can make, and if you have enough finishers, maybe you don't have those finishers, right? Maybe you have a torrential Gearhulk just in your collection, so you can use that Gearhulk instead of one of these finishers, and then you don't need to craft one of these finishers and you can focus on something else. Basically, I would just generally recommend you to just craft the staples that you're going to use in other decks. So out of the Planeswalkers, I probably would recommend you to craft Liliana Dreadhorde General, not because it's the best Planeswalker of the deck, just because it's the Planeswalker that you're going to use the most, right? If you get any interaction. Swansong is not used in as many decks as Thoughtseize, so I would recommend you to craft the Thoughtseize. And it's really a deck of, yeah, just you know, it's a good deck to work towards, because you're going to craft a bunch of staples for black control decks, just, you know, general good stuff. Just, you know, it is what it is. These are just good cards, and I would just recommend you to craft the ones that, you know, you don't have in your collection yet. But other than that, you can build Tasha in a couple of different ways, but this is probably the most competitive approach. Yeah, that is basically my take on Tasha Unholy Archmage. Again, hope you had fun. The deck was definitely a success, but if she gets matched up against like only blue-white control, then her win rate is, and like should at least be, abysmal. But as it currently stands, you just roll over people with Tasha Unholy Archmage. It's a pretty strong deck, but I don't think it deserves the high win rate it currently has. Anyways, stay safe, and till the next video.